Hello and welcome to Heartrepreneur TV Live. We are here with a very wonderful show for you today. I hope you really find value in it, and I'm really excited to have you here. Today we are talking about stress and hormone health. And as you know, as entrepreneurs, we can end up on all sides of the spectrum when it comes to stress. And last time I checked, every one of us has hormones. So I think this is going to be a really good show for all of us. Lyssa Jaye is a nurse practitioner with 17 years of experience in women's health, including delivering babies in a hospital as an RN, working in community clinics, doing full scope gynecology care, prenatal care, and perimenopause care. She realized that many women needed more than what the conventional medical model could offer and started studying functional medicine several years ago. Lyssa now runs her own functional medicine and health coaching practice called Positively Thriving Functional Medicine for Women. So welcome to the show, Lyssa.
Thank you so much, Alma. It's such an honor and joy to be here. I'm really excited.
I'm excited to have you here as well. I love the topic that we're talking about, stress and hormone health. As somebody who's been in and out of entrepreneurial things, and I've experienced divorce twice and a high conflict divorce with that. Stress has been something that I've experienced a fair bit of. And I know that I've heard it called adrenal insufficiency, adrenal fatigue, adrenal burnout, a lot of those different terms. But for me, really, I was exhausted because I was stressed all the time. And I'd really love to hear what your perspective is regarding stress and our hormone health.
Yeah, it's a huge topic, obviously, right? There's many books written about this. The term adrenal fatigue is no longer in vogue, but how medicine is, it keeps evolving and we learn more that it's not just the fatigue of the adrenals, it's actually all the impacts that chronic stress has on our body that causes that fatigue. And it's multifaceted, right? So one, yes, your adrenals are pumping out that cortisol way too much, right? We're supposed to have this fight or flight response where we get adrenaline and norepinephrine that are released and give us, the power and the energy we need to get away from a predator or save our kid or whatever it is. And then it's go back down, right? We have this DHEA hormone that's supposed to counter-regulate and make everything calm down. And it's not supposed to last that long, right? An hour and a half until everything's calm again. With chronic stress, what happens is that cortisol keeps pumping out. And it used to be thought of this adrenal fatigue as the adrenals just get tired and can't pump out anymore. And that's partly true, right? That if you're constantly coming out, but also it's your receptors are not as sensitive anymore, just like with insulin sensitivity and type 2 diabetes, right? If you have so much insulin in your system all the time, those receptors on the cells are no longer as sensitive and can't let it in. So even if you are pumping out the cortisol, maybe it's not getting into the cells where it's needed. And then on top of that cortisol is causing cascades throughout your body. It's causing inflammation. It's messing your circadian rhythm. It is reducing your melatonin, which further affects your circadian rhythm and your sleep. So when we have chronic stress, it's affecting so many things in our body.
Lots of things in our body. Like I know, with the fight or flight response, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, I think is the 4 Fs.
Yeah.
And what my understanding is when that happens, when we're running away from the tiger per se, all of our blood and everything like that goes to our extremities. It leaves the brain, it leaves the stomach, all of those kinds of things so that we can run away from the tiger. And so when we're in chronic stress, we're constantly running away from our figurative tiger. My stomach isn't working properly. My heart isn't working properly. My brain certainly isn't working properly. So you mentioned a few other things like the norepinephrine and the cortisol. Those are all hormones, correct?
They are all hormones. Yeah. So a lot of times when I say that I work with hormones, people are thinking estrogen and progesterone, right? Like, because I do a lot of work with perimenopause and menopausal women. And hormones are a much bigger story. They are communicators in the body. They come from all over the body. They have many functions. I mean, there's the thyroid hormone that affects your metabolism in every cell in the body. There's your cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine from your adrenals. There's insulin from your pancreas, which is what's helping us get the glucose that we eat into our cells. And then, of course, there's all the sex hormones. And there's many more. And there's also neurotransmitters that aren't hormones, but they are also communicators in our body, and they're also affected by this chronic stress. So when I use the word hormone, it's like overall in our body, how our hormones are affected. And our body needs these hormones to be working properly in order for us to function at our optimal level. And one of the things that really gets messed up with the chronic stress and other things also, but chronic stress is the HPA axis and the HPT axis and the HPG axis. And that means hypothalamus, pituitary, and then either your gonads, your thyroid, your adrenals. So you have this like really complex feedback loop system in your body where you're getting, it's not just you feel stressed and the cortisol comes out. You get stress, you feel it in your limbic system, which is kind of like the lizard brain, right? Where we feel all those
Mhm.
emotions. So when we're running away from that tiger, that's intact, but like the blood goes away from our prefrontal cortex, which is our, higher level thinking and decision-making skills.
Mhm.
But the stress goes from there, tells your hypothalamus, oh, there's stress going on. And it all happens so quickly, right? Tells your pituitary to release some releasing hormones, and then goes straight to your adrenals and tells your adrenal glands to release hormones. And so there's so many hormones involved in this cascade, as well as other messengers and precursors.
Okay. Okay. So what I think I'm hearing is, because I mean, you know, when I was going through the majority of my stress, oh gosh, that would have been 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Had some pretty heavy stress going on. There was a lot of talk about adrenal fatigue and stuff like that. But what I think I'm hearing is that we have a network of hormones that all communicate with each other. And what it sounds like, it might also communicate with the neural network as well. Is that true?
Um, yes, I mean, yes, everything in our body is a network, and that is actually what functional medicine is, right? It's looking how the entire system functions together, and it's why what I do is different than what I did, right? Where before someone came into me at the gynecological clinic and like I have this one symptom, and the symptom may have been like chronic bacterial vaginosis or pelvic pain, right? Where I'm just looking at it from this gynecological perspective. And really, what I realized after so many years of doing that is a lot of the problems that people kept coming back with over and over again were actually stress related or sleep related or gut health related.
Mm.
And all of those things are related to each other. And so instead of going to a dermatologist for your skin and going to the gynecologist for your private parts and going to your ophthalmologist for your vision or endocrinologist for your thyroid issues, yes, all those people are important, and I'm not denigrating conventional medicine at all. It's absolutely crucial that we have it for acute issues and emergencies. However, overall, our body is a very complex, interconnected system. And what we do in functional medicine is look at the root. And a lot of people at that root is chronic stress. Right. So what's happening is you have this stressful, whatever is divorce, which I have also been through. And yes, that turned my life upside down in ways that nothing else has for sure. But also regular stressors, right? Sitting in traffic, dealing with teenagers, right? These are things a lot of us are,
Speaking
over.
of hormones.
Um, and if your total side tangent is my next course that I'm going to create is going to be called P squared, and it's going to be about perimenopause and puberty. So all of us like 40 to 50-year-olds who are dealing with teenagers and tweens and like how to deal with that. So yes, all these stressors that come into our life are affecting all aspects of our body. And when you said your stomach, right? Like when you had stress, your stomach was feeling it. Well, yeah, the stress levels you have, the cortisol that's come out, whether it's acute stress, right, where we just get butterflies in our stomach, or maybe we have to run to the bathroom or get diarrhea or something like that. Um, that is all stomach related, but chronic stress actually damages the lining of our intestines, reduces the good bacteria, helps the bad bacteria increase, can actually cause permeability of your gut. And then you have a whole cascade of inflammation in your body that affects your hormones, but also makes you tired, makes you moody, can lead to depression, anxiety, skin issues, headaches, like all kinds of things, and put you at really high risk for high morbidity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, autoimmunity. So yes, it's all connected. And there's like I said, it's a huge subject. There's so much to talk about. And you think, oh, stress, I'll just like meditate a little bit and I'll be better. But it actually is more complex than that.
Well, because what I think I'm hearing too is, I mean, yes, you want to deal with the root of the stress. That makes total sense. And making sure that you are caring for yourself when you are stressed, finding ways to relieve the stress and that kind of thing. However, at the same time, especially if we've been in chronic stress, there's already been a body impact, and that's what I'm hearing is really important to deal with in a holistic, functional way, and not just dealing with, okay, my thyroid is out, let's take some thyroid medication, or my adrenals are tired, let's do something for that, or I have a stomach ache, so let's take Tums,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. All of that. And of course, if you have hypothyroid, thyroid is so essential. Like you are going to need medicine. And again,
Mhm.
I'm certainly not saying like, oh, let's just all, do some stress relief and we're going to be fine. Like there is real need for medication. However, if you have an autoimmune Hashimoto's, or your thyroid is subclinical, meaning it's not working optimally, but you're not yet at that diagnostic level of like hypo
Mhm.
or hyperthyroid, there's so much we can do to help reverse that and help improve it. And when I say stress, also, I think it's really important to note that I'm not just talking about emotional stress, right? Emotional stress is huge. We can all recognize it in our lives. Well, a lot of us can recognize it in our lives, like big things like
Yeah.
divorce or, a papers due, like
Mhm.
whatever it is we're working on. If you're an entrepreneur, I mean, there's no end, right? Like even just trying to figure out that balance in life between like, oh my gosh, there's never an end to my work, but when do I take time off? That's real stress, right? But there's
Mhm.
also other stressors. There's history of trauma, which causes stress that stays in our body. There's physical stress, trauma, breaking a bone, or even doing excessive high intensity training can be
Mhm.
stressful in your body. There's inflammation that can happen from eating the wrong foods, things you're sensitive to or allergic to. And the most common things are like dairy and gluten that many people have sensitivities to, but other people might have random weird sensitivities themselves that are causing stress on your body. There's anytime, and there's all these loops also, right? So you get stressed from whether it's from emotional or physical or past trauma, you're chronically in it, it upsets your gut. And now all of a sudden you have all these proteins leaking through your gut that are causing a stress response there locally. And then you have another communicator, SIG-A, which is an immune response, which tells your whole body to get inflamed. And that inflammation causes further stress on our bodies. And so a lot of these things are loops with our gut, with our mitochondrial health. Do you know what mitochondria is?
I have heard that term quite a bit, and I'm not remembering what it is.
Okay, well, you did share with me this morning that you're drinking your spirulina latte, and that is great for mitochondrial health. Mitochondria are often called the powerhouses of the cells. They're little organelles that live in almost all of our cells in our body, and it's what creates the energy. It's what our metabolism is. And so it can either use fat or
Mm.
carbs for metabolizing. It's, cranks out ATP, which is the energy we use to live and move and do all the things we do. It is very important. And so much of our modern day life, including all the things that cause stress, are damaging that mitochondria, which means that we don't have the energy we need, right? They're leaking, they're not functioning at high levels, they're not pumping out enough energy. So here we are with this chronic stress and we're tired. It used to be like, oh, our adrenals are just sick of pumping out cortisol, but it's so much deeper than that because we're actually damaging these parts of ourselves that we need to create the energy to live our lives. And so,
So so it's
sorry.
kind of sounding like our mitochondria is is kind of like it's our rechargeable battery, and sometimes it leaks, and sometimes we're not charging it with the right things. And am I kind of understanding that
I mean, the
correctly?
battery could be I like looking at it as kind of a car. I mean, that's a really common thing, right? It's like the engine in a car that you feed
Okay.
it with fuel, right? You feed it with fuel, and if you get high grade fuel and your car is in good working condition, it uses that fuel really efficiently and gets better miles per gallon, has a lot
Ah,
less exhaust, isn't damaging to the environment. And you can feed, let's say you have a hybrid car. Um, you have, energy going in through electricity and you have energy going in through gasoline. And it's the same thing with our bodies, right? You can use fat or carbs to get that energy. And so you've got this really complex engine. But if you have an engine that hasn't been well maintained, isn't getting its regular tune-ups, is degrading, right? The oil is leaking out a little bit, it's dying a little bit early, then you put that fuel in and it's not able to use it as efficiently. You get less miles per gallon, plus the exhaust is awful. And that exhaust in our bodies is oxidative stress, reactive oxygen species, which
ah,
causes damage to our cells. So again, another loop. If you're not taking care of that engine in our body, all those thousands and thousands of mitochondria we have in our body, and in the cells, you can have cells that need less energy, have, 10 or so mitochondria. You have cells that have thousands of mitochondria, your heart cells, your brain cells that have to work really hard.
okay.
So
Okay.
that's how I like to think about it, because it's more complex than a battery.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I love using the analogy of the car because, again, too, um, miles per gallon, right? How far am I going? How fast am I going?
Right?
Have I really slowed down? Am I, um,
Yeah, is your check engine light going on, right? Or are
yeah.
you overheating faster? You're getting tired faster, right? You can't do as much as you used to do, right? Maybe you used to be able to wake up with energy and get all your stuff during the day, work out, walk your dog, take care of your kids, run your business. And now, after how many years of chronic stress, with all these different things going on in your body, you just don't feel good. You've got brain fog, you're tired, you don't wake up with energy anymore. Maybe you're waking up multiple times in the night,
Mhm.
and you're just not as productive, and you're also not as happy, right? These things also affect um your neurotransmitters, right? Your serotonin, your dopamine, all these things that keep us stable and happy and resilient, being able to manage the day-to-day stress, because life is a roller coaster, right? We all know that.
Mhm.
And there's never going to be a time in our life where we have no stress, but we want our baseline of stress to be low. And when we have acute stress, great, let's respond to it and then get right back down and in a healthy level again. But most of us are living all the way up here with our baseline. And then when we have acute stress, it's over the top. And some of us can't handle it, right? We can't cope. We don't have that resilience anymore.
That makes a lot of sense. So now that we have a better understanding of uh, the cyclical nature of what we're experiencing, the variety of stresses that we can and often do experience, because it's not just one,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be financial stresses. There's going to be work stress. I mean, I know that I experienced all of that. I was in the later stages of perimenopause, dealing with a teen boy and divorce and a job, um, and the finances, and and
You are not alone, right? Like we all have
exactly.
that piled onto us. There's very few women. I work mostly with women, although this is true for men too, that you that there are very few people that I work with and meet with in day-to-day life who are not at that level of stress. Maybe some retirees, right? Who, like, kids are out of the house and doing well. They have no financial stress, but man, most of our life is like that. Just one thing after
Mhm.
another, and it almost feels like whack-a-mole. Like, okay, today I'm gonna focus on my nutrition. Today I'm gonna focus on sleep. Today I'm gonna get my finances done. Oh no, I forgot this, I forgot that. It's nonstop.
So what can we do? What are some easy things that we can bring into our lives that are going to help us manage the different kinds of stresses that we are dealing with?
Well, that is obviously like the big question, right? Like, what can we do
Mhm,
about it? It's great. One, it's great to be heard, right? For someone to come in, I've had patients who come in and say things like, well, I'm generally okay. I don't have a lot of stress. I'm fine, da da da, but I have all these symptoms. And then when we dig a little deeper, we realize, like, actually, all these things you're experiencing are causing your body stress. And that, even just hearing that, right? Like that being
mm,
heard, being seen, like, oh, yeah, actually, I am dealing with a lot. There's a like a kind of a breath out, a relief around seeing that. And so one of the first things I do in my class when I'm working with clients is to actually, have them kind of take this self-assessment about where all your stress might be coming from, what might be going on in your body. So I think that's a big one, right? Recognizing, like so many things, acknowledging you have a problem first. And and sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. And so acknowledging it, recognizing it, and then taking a step back and looking at all the different things and where we can work on it, right? It's so
mhm,
overwhelming if you go see a practitioner and you like have all these root causes, stress being a big one of them, right? And again, we're talking about physical stress, food stress, all these different things, toxic stress, environmental stress, what we're putting on our body. So you look at all these different things, and then you start with the low hanging fruit, right? You don't start by fixing everything all at once because that's really overwhelming. You want to start one with something that resonates with you, that you feel like, oh, wow, that part of me is really messed up and I could use help with that. And then the low hanging fruit there. So I saw one of the comments that just came up was about sleep. And that's something I focus on usually at the forefront, right? That is one of the first things I deal with. One, because it is so easy to make small changes. Um,
mhm.
Emotionally, some people are really like, wait, I can't drink coffee in the afternoon. How will I get through? Or, I can't watch television until the second I go to sleep. Um, but really, when you're talking about stress, fixing your sleep and your circadian rhythm is probably one of the most powerful things that you can do. And it can start really, really small, Velma. It could start with, when this gets dark outside, start dimming your lights, right? Because what we want to do is start living with our evolutionary circadian rhythm. Right now, we
Mhm.
have a complete mismatch between what our bodies are supposed to do and how our modern living has us living, right? So, like, we didn't have enough time from industrialization to now to evolve to be okay with bright lights all day long and blue light from screens all day long and this constant hustle and bustle. And so, I would say the very first thing to work on is sleep for a lot of people, right? And
Mhm.
that includes a lot of other things that can also be reducing your stress throughout the day. So I teach something really simple called 4-7-8 breathing, which transforms your autonomic nervous system from the sympathetic, which is that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, to the parasympathetic, was rest and digest. Um,
Ah.
and so sometimes just that simple breathing, right? When we see ourselves actually feeling stress, we are spiraling, right? We wait till it gets really bad and then we do something like drink wine or lay down and take a nap, like things that we don't have time for and probably aren't good for us. Or we go to food, our comfort food, which is really for most of us not healthy. So I teach 4-7-8 breathing, which is in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, out for 8 seconds. Do that 5 times. You can do that in a traffic jam. You can do it in the doctor's office. So we start with that, and then we look at some things that they can change around their house, right? That they can, get bright light first thing in the morning, dim the lights in the evening,
Mhm,
aim the lights in their room. And then, so one last thing, just this one part is creating a nighttime routine, which includes
mhm.
meditation and journaling. And those things are proven to reduce stress as well. And so if you start with sleep, you can really tackle a lot of different issues.
I love that because what I noticed is that those things for me personally, because I it's a little easier for me to talk from where I'm at,
Yeah, of
is
course.
those things that I was doing before bed were unhealthy coping mechanisms that were impacting my sleep. So, YouTube on my phone, right? It's more of the blue light. I'm keeping myself up later, but it's distracting me from the mind chatter or whatever it is that is stressing me out. But then it's impacting my sleep, which has me just in that loop that you were talking about, right?
Mhm.
I had a concussion nearly 5 years ago, and so ever since then, I can't have caffeine even at 7:30 in the morning. I could probably have a cup a week
Yeah.
kind of thing, and I'd be okay. But every time I started that daily routine of a cup of coffee, because I love the taste of it, there was the impacts on the sleep. You were talking about meditation and journaling at the end of the day. That's actually how I start my day.
I do recommend starting days like that also, but a lot of people, it depends on the person, right? We talk to them about what their, when I work with someone, what their day looks like. But yeah,
Mhm.
meditation, 5 minutes every single morning and build up, right? I usually start small, especially if no one's ever had a meditation practice before. But absolutely, in my journal that I have created for my practice, I have a morning gratitude, 5 minutes of meditation, right? That's so much a part of how to
Mhm.
start your day and focus.
Absolutely. So what I did hear from you through all of this is, one, it's knowing where we're at,
Hmm.
right? Understanding where we're at, because we can't map away from that and map to where we want to go if we have no clear indication of where we are. So that is acknowledging, I've got multiple streams of stress
Yeah.
that are showing up in my life, and then going after the low hanging fruit, the things that are easy for us to make an impact on. And one of the ones that you recommend from the start is tackling our sleep. Like, I know, I take magnesium every night before I go to bed, because I've noticed that that does support me to have a
Hmm.
good sleep. Um, I have blue light glasses. I look really
Yay.
sexy at night.
Yay.
Because I have glasses, so they're like the ones that go over top of your
Yeah, me
glasses,
too.
right? So
I have them also.
yeah, but so I've been doing that because there are plenty of activities that I still like to do at night. Like I'm always learning and stuff like that, so I might be doing homework on my computer, or that kind of thing. So, and if I have to be on my phone or my computer, it's with those lights on, or
Yeah.
those glasses on, in order to support myself. So I'm good about myself right now, because apparently I'm doing some things right.
But I really wanna acknowledge something that you just said that, start with the easy things first. And while it's easy to pinpoint some of this low-hanging fruit and easy to do these things, like to see, oh, how this will help, I do
Mhm,
wanna really acknowledge that they're simple but not easy for a lot of people, right? So if
mhm,
you have had a lifelong habit or a 20-year habit of being on your computer till the second you go to sleep, it's not easy to change that, right? If your family has patterns of eating at 8 p.m. and you go to sleep at 11, um, you know, or eat until, start dinner at 8 and eat until 9, go to sleep at 11, like that's not a healthy pattern either. And it's hard to switch that out. You might have other people who are impacted. It might be your own personal habit that feels good to you. And yet, if you're coming to me and you can't sleep and you have all the stress and your gut's not healthy and you're waking up, tired, well, we need to deal with those things. And so I just want to acknowledge that this isn't simple. And it's why working with someone is really helpful, or even, I have a course that has a lot of my fundamentals in it that I teach,
mhm,
which is an 8-week hormone, natural hormone reset course where we really look
mm,
at all these foundations and I help people step by step get there. It's just really important to acknowledge that this is a challenge and to get support around, to get accountability, get partners, and start small and build on that. Because you can make a huge difference with small steps, and it can be really hard to change these habits. And so, working on mindset and habit training and self talk is
mhm.
all part of reducing stress and making your body healthy.
Awesome. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I mean, there were a lot of touch points that were very personal for me. Um, and like I said, for me, it felt really good to know that there's been a lot of things that I've done over the years
Yeah, it sounds
that
like it.
have supported me. Um, and I think I definitely agree with you that making sure that you've got somebody on your team
Yeah.
standing with you through this, looking at these things with you, highlighting particular things for you. having somebody beside you through the journey, I think, is super valuable, and bringing somebody in who has a complete understanding regarding our hormone health and all of the hormones, not just
Not just ones we usually think about. Yeah.
exactly. So thank you so much for your time today,
Thank you
Lyssa. This
so much.
conversation was fantastic. How do our listeners, both in our Facebook group and out in YouTube land, how do they find you?
Excellent question. Thank you. So they could come to my Facebook group, which is where we have lots of discussions about hormones and health, and it's called Navigating the Change Hormones, Health, and You. So go ahead and look for that. You can find me on Facebook, Lyssa Jaye. I'm the only one on there. And you can also go to download my consumer awareness guide at howtobalanceyourhormones.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks again for coming and spending your time with us. I really appreciate you sharing
Thank
all
you.
of the knowledge that you gained over the last lifetime.
Yeah, I've had a really great time talking to you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. And for those of you out there in Facebook land and YouTube land, make sure that you head on over to Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine on Facebook. You'll be able to connect with more heart-based business owners like Lyssa Jaye and myself, and some of the people that you've seen participating in this show. And we'd love to have you, and I look forward to seeing you on our next show. Have a brilliant day.
Bye, Velma.